And good morning, everyone. Wow. Got people listening. I'm off. Still hear me? There. Hear me? Oh. Hey. Well, it's good to see you here. Beautiful morning. Wow. Have that exciting announcement. Next Sunday is canceled. What does that mean for me? Talk about all these Canadians that couldn't come here. I'm the lonely Canadian with my wife. We're here. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll check on being able to get home a little sooner, or maybe we'll just hold the course, stay here another week and a half, and go home as our schedule says we should be going home. That's to Houston. We have no idea what's going to happen in Houston with everything that's going on. Maybe they'll put us in a little room there for 14 days. I have no idea. But our car is there. Otherwise, we'd fly all the way to Canada and then sit in a room over there. But now we have to find out what we're going to do. But I don't worry about it. We need to worry about it, and we have a beautiful place to stay, and I think we're quite okay just staying there. My wife has a bunch of drapes in our suite, and apparently this week these are coming down and new ones are going up. And but she just told me this morning the rods had come, top there, and now they need to be painted, stained, sanded, or whatever else yet. So can't do that tomorrow. At least we can't hang them tomorrow yet, probably. And since I used to be the drape hanger back home, my wife has a window covering business, and I would do the hard work hanging up the drapes. Says you might have a job this week. Don't have to prepare a message for next Sunday. We'll see. Anyways, we're here to talk about stewardship, but before I do, there are still some pictures left over there. If you don't take them, we might just take them back home. Maybe we'll just leave them. But you haven't got a picture of us. Our gift to you. Take one, post it someplace, hang it in a dark corner somewhere so you don't see it all the time, but once in a while maybe you remember us, maybe you can pray for us, and that would be good. Anyways, we're talking about stewardship. Let's see if we can get this thing going. There we are. Tony Campolo. Who knows about Tony Campolo? Anybody heard about Tony Campolo? Nobody here? Ah, yeah, a few hands. I see a few hands. Because he's actually quite an important guy. He is a university professor, I think in Boston, if I'm right. And is also a renowned speaker, travels across the States and Canada, does a lot of preaching. He was one day flying home, the red-eye flight, like overnight flight from Los Angeles to his home, likely in the area of Boston. He arrives there in the morning at 8:30 in the morning, and the secretary is there to meet him. And the first thing she says to him, Tony, we made a little mistake. We forgot about an appointment that you have this morning, 10 o'clock. This was 8:30. 10 o'clock, you have an appointment. You're supposed to preach at a Women's World Day of Prayer. It's an annual event that happens up in North America. It's a big event. And you're supposed to preach there. So they head off to the church in that community. They get to the church, and Tony is prepared to preach. Well, we're not sure, but it says so in the article that was written. And the chair lady of the event says to Tony, before you preach today, we have one need. We need to present to the ladies. There's around 200 ladies there. And that is, there's a missionary in Venezuela who was asked for $5,000 to help with her medical infirmary. They need to enlarge it. It's a desperate need they have. And we'd like you to pray that the Lord would provide this need. Well, Tony says, I'm not going to pray about it. I'm going to take my wallet, empty it out on the front table, communion table or whatever they have in front. I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to invite the ladies to come and do the same. So he empties out his wallet, he puts down $2.25. All he had. He was nigh broke. Then he calls the women of the church to come. Chair lady first, she's sitting right over there somewhere. You come and put your money down. She was a little bit hesitant. Eventually she does. Puts her money down. Others start coming. They all start coming. How much money do you think they raised that morning? $8,000. Loose change in their pockets. He said we don't need to make any receipts. There's no checks today. It's only cash. $8,000. And then he said, we don't need to ask God for $5,000. He has already provided it. He's provided $8,000. The audacity to think that we need to ask God to provide our needs. He's more than already done that. Well, we've taken an offering this morning. Now the question, how much loose change is in your pocket? How much loose change is there? Would it be enough to cover the expense? I was going to say next weekend's expense, but I won't say that now because it's been canceled. What about the addition that you are planning for over there? Corny, is that right? An addition up on top of that next building? $10,000 or whatever it is. Is there enough there? Or I would ask you to come and bring all your loose change. Well, I won't do that. Don't worry. Stewardship. Stewardship. Something that affects our total life. All of life. Everything we do. It reminds us that we are entrusted with a management of an estate or affairs that doesn't belong to us. It belongs to someone else. We realize that nothing really belongs to us. All is from the Lord and is the Lord's. Basic to our understanding of stewardship are three fundamental principles, and let me repeat these three fundamental principles. If anything, we got problems. I guess there weren't three. We'll try again. Yep. Get the machine going. The first one is that God is sole owner of everything. You've heard me say that 3 times now. 3 Sundays. When rightly understood, this applies to our lives, and how it applies to our lives, this concept can be tremendously liberating. What about the things we prize so much, like our homes, our cars, our business, our family, our wife? What about that? Can we really say that these all really belong to the Lord? My business belongs to the Lord? Good. And are we then free with these things that we have to use them or to let them to be used for God and for His glory, not just for selfish ends? To recognize that God as the owner frees me from fears, from anxiety, from the tension of thinking that I am responsible for the existence of what I have. I'm not responsible for it. With God as the owner, then I'm willing to accept the fact that He has the ultimate control. He can allow my business to go bankrupt. Or He can allow my business to flourish and to blossom and to grow and to grow. That's the way it should be. But God, in His grace and His love, has given us these things for us to use, to take care of, to cultivate, and to give away. Secondly, we notice that man is a steward. Steward of time. Last Sunday I talked about the 24-hour period that we have We've had how many 24-hour periods now in the last week? 7 days of 24 hours. What have we done with them? We're a steward of possessions, physical, material, financial. We are a steward of our abilities, our gifts, our talents. Ultimately, we are stewards of life. Life itself. For even our breath is a gift of God. And He can take it. Yeah, He does. Every day, someone dies. Acts 17:25 says, neither is He served by human hands, as though He needed anything, since He Himself gives all man life and breath and everything else. We are stewards. And thirdly, the important fact that we need to remember is that every man is accountable. The Bible is clear. Each one of us is appointed to die, and after that, the judgment. I can't get around that. I can't. There's no way. I cannot escape the fact that I will be judged for what I have done with Jesus, what I have done with my life, what I have done with what God has given me. I am, you are, we all are accountable for what we have that God has given to us. Let's read Mark chapter 12, 41 to 44. Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins worth only a few cents. Calling His disciples to Him, Jesus said, truly I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on. The story finds Jesus in the temple. I don't know if the temple was still there. Was it still there? Not that one. Probably not, maybe another one, but not that one. But that one at that time had a wall, and along that wall were cairns. You know, I don't know how big they were, we're not told, but there was a row of cairns, and people could go there and put their money in there. That was their offering place. Offering bags. They would go and put in their cash. Their offering. Whether it was a weekly offering, a monthly offering, whatever, we're not told, but they would put in their offering. Well, when Jesus was looking for a place to sit after a day of teaching, the people around him, he was tired, he needed to sit down, and he chose a place opposite that wall where the people were making their offering, so he could sit and watch. Sit and watch. His way of relaxing, but you know, he never wasted any moment. Every moment, opportunity he had, he took it and used it for a purpose. So he was watching these people come and put in their offering at that wall. Well, what have we got? We have the widow with her 2 small coins. There's 3 takeaways from this passage. The word watch means to look with discerning eyes, with a discerning gaze. It describes a deep, penetrating look. To see not only how much they gave or what they gave, but why they gave. Their motive for giving. A discerning eye. Jesus could look into the person's life, into the person's heart. We may not all be able to fool all the people all the time, but we cannot. We may not be able to fool some of the people all of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. The fact is that Jesus is watching. He's watching. We can't fool Jesus. He sees not only how much, but he sees our attitude, why we gave. Another saying is, the cat's away, the the mice will play. We know what that means. When the boss isn't looking, and I'm going to slack off a little bit on my job, right? The boss has gone over into his office, so now I'm just going to slough around a little bit. Let's be a little bit relaxed, a little careless. No, he asked me to do a certain thing, but he's not watching, so I can do a little bit what I want to do now. Or the coach on the racing team gets preoccupied with something else. He's not watching us run the track, so we can just slow down a little bit. I'm tired. Coach isn't watching, so I just slow down. Cat's away, the mice will play. Well, he's still watching. What does he see when we give? When the offering plate passes by? Oh, what's the attitude? Another offering? You mean you want me to give again? I just gave a little bit last week. No, this Sunday, the offering plate comes again? Or do we say, yay, I got an opportunity to give. I just love giving. What a different attitude. Second thing we learn is that Jesus knows the amount. He knows exactly what you and I placed in the offering this morning. Jesus saw the rich give out of their abundance. They had lots. In fact, he says, they just gave their leftovers. They contributed to the fund. They contributed to the fund, but they still had lots. They had $1,000. They put in 10. Not 10,000. They put in $10. They gave out of their abundance. But then there's the widow. She gave all she had. She gave all she had. Hers was a sacrificial gift. She committed her very livelihood. She was going to go home from there. Not sure how her kids were going to eat tomorrow, or even later on in the day. She'd given her 2 pennies. All she had. She was trusting God for her life. This woman didn't flout what she gave. I could just see her shyly walking up to these containers. Nobody's looking. Just slowly drop in those few pennies. Nobody even heard anything. Whereas the rich came, they dropped in, and they probably lifted up a little higher, so everybody's watching. See what I'm dropping in today? It's a handful. And clang, 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 clang. It's making some noise. When I was fundraiser for SBC, Bible College, a few years back, my last official job that I had was I'm a truck driver, and that's just kind of part-time for retirement. But we built a dormitory, the girls' women's dorm at the college. Very, very nice facility. And it was quite expensive. And I asked the question, do I go after some of these big money guys, like Mr. Bueller in Winnipeg? Anybody here from Winnipeg will know Mr. Bueller very likely because you may have seen his name on some buildings. All over the city there's buildings. Bueller this, Bueller that, Bueller this, and so on. The school in Southern Manitoba, they got a Bueller Hall. Providence Bible College, not too far from Steinbeck, they had a Bueller dormitory. It was built, I don't know how many years ago, and then burned down just a few years ago. Now they have a brand new one, but it's not called Bueller. I'm not sure what it's called. But some of these big name guys, you know, guys with deep pockets, they will contribute if their name can be on the wall, or a donor wall at the back that says, Mr. Bueller has given $1 million, or whatever. But you know, those guys have their reward. Everybody can see it. You're not supposed to give that way. Not at all. Just checking on some news in Manitoba. 99% of it is coronavirus, but there was one thing that caught my eye. The University of Winnipeg, no, University of Manitoba, has renamed their building where they do their teaching for their engineering students. I don't know what the name of the building was, but they renamed it to Price Engineering School or something like that. Price was the name. I read on, and it was Mr. and Mrs. Price had donated $20 million to the university for the refinishing of that building. It was an old building. It was a big building, but it was pretty old. They're going to redo it, put in a new facade on the outside and do lots of changes inside, maybe even build it a little bit bigger. Price Engineering Building. They got their reward. Their name is up on the wall, so to say, for their gift. The point is that we don't want others to see what we're giving. That is good. That is good. We shouldn't give so that others can see. But do we ever think of it? That Jesus sees. He sees what we give. And he sees whether we can give that large gift, or whether we can give a small gift. He sees that. It's as Rick Feller has said, just as we play for an audience of one and worship an audience of one, we give to an audience of one. Honor him with your gift. And then we notice thirdly here that Jesus elevates this woman. Jesus calls his disciples and tells them, that is what I want you to see. Do that. Give like this woman gave. That's how I want you to give. Secret, sacrificially, so that it hurts a little bit. Jesus raised this poor lady, this widow, with a little bit of money, just a little bit of cash. He raises her to a level for all to see, not the rich, but the poor. And he says, that's how I want you to give. And he enshrined her in the history of time, in the Word of God, that for people down the road, 2,000 years later, would still see the example of this woman and see her generosity. The woman's gift, not the rich gift, is the pattern of generosity on which Christianity is to be built. We are to rival rather not the amount, but the sacrifice this woman gave or made. Remember, let's see if we can find it. There we go. Generosity is not determined by the size of the gift, but by the size of the sacrifice. It is not what she gave, but what she had left. Oh, what she had left. So if we had $100 in our pocket this morning, the offering plate went by, what have we got left? $90? That's what Jesus sees. Two well-to-do Christians, a lawyer and a businessman, were on a tour that was going around the world. In Korea, one day, they saw a field by the side of the road. In the field, a boy pulled a crude plow while an old man held the plow handles and directed it through the rice paddy. The lawyer was amused and took a picture of the scene. That's a curious sight, he said to the missionary who was the interpreter and guide. Yes, was the reply. That is the family of Chi Naui. When the church building was built, they were eager to give something, but they had no money. So they sold the only ox they had and gave the money to the church. This spring, they are pulling the plow themselves. The lawyer and businessman were silent for a few moments, and then the businessman said, That must have been a real sacrifice. The missionary said they didn't call it that. They thought it was fortunate they had an ox to sell. See the attitude? They had an ox, let's sell it and give it to the project. Let's read another story out of Luke. Luke chapter 12, 13 to 21. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?" Then he said to them, "Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist of an abundance of possessions." And he told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich toward God." This is a very different story. It's about a rich farmer who struck it richer with a great big harvest of beans. I'm not sure what he was growing. We're not told. It was beans. What would we do if we were that man? Here we had the rich man. Rich man's dilemma. What would I do with that resource, with my resources? With possession here, I mean that which God has entrusted to my care. The important question is, whose is it? Whose is it, really? Whose money that I have in my pocket is it, really? The possessions really belong to God. But He lets us use them. Lets us use them. The parable further illustrates us that life can be short, and I better have my plans for the afterlife in place, just in case. There was a problem. Why did the farmer build bigger? Why did he build bigger? Well, we read here. It says, "I have plenty of good things laid up for many years. Take life, eat, drink, and be merry." Was that a retirement plan? I don't know. Maybe he was 65. He needed to look after his life for the next 10 or 15 or 20 years. But the farmer failed in one thing. He failed to plan to die. Ella and I have a will. You all know what a will is. It's a document that when we are gone, and hopefully for a long time yet, I'm only 76, so I have another 25 or more years. Maybe not, likely not. But when we're gone, our kids will know what to do with our estate. I'll tell you, our estate isn't big. Not big, but we have things. We have some property. 5 acres, we have a house, a little bit of cash. And the kids will know what to do with it. And the will states very clearly, a good portion of it will go to them. But a portion of it will also go to charity. A portion of what we have stored up, have accumulated over life, is going to go to charity. And we've spelled out which charities and what percentage of the will go to the charity. That's one way of planning what happens when we die. What happens to our property, to our estate. And we do that while we're still alive. Otherwise, the lawyers and the courts will take a good slice of it. Just the way it is. I would encourage all of you, if you don't have a will, you go home this afternoon and start writing up one. Knowing a will can be very simple, but it must be dated and signed, and preferably signed with a witness. It's just in case. But while we're still alive, how do we show that our finances are really God's? By just writing a will? Or by demonstrating to our kids, to our friends, to people around us, that part of life is giving? Al and I postmated checks for a church before we left home. Left them with the church, with the treasurer. These are our contributions. This is our tithe for the next 2 months while we'll be gone, March and April. It's our way of saying what we have isn't ours. A portion of it belongs to the Lord. And I always maintain the tithe, the 10%, belongs to the church. That's the Lord's. For the church to use in mission. The principle that we need to take note of is a tenth is designated for God. We will have no personal benefit from it. It will be wasted if not given to the Lord. However, our giving shouldn't be limited to only 1/10. Some of us can give a lot more. And we should, if that's what God leads us. We're reminded that when we are faithful in giving, the Lord will bless us in return. Malachi says, will we rob God? No, we don't rob God, do we? Yes, we do. If we don't give him our tithes and our offerings. We only receive as we give is the fundamental rule. Now, we receive that in all kinds of things, like our love, the appreciation we give to others comes back to us. We give, and then we receive. We receive by giving. Charlie Shedd in The Exciting Church has said, when the outgo meets with God's approval, he provides the income needed. When the outgo meets with God's approval, he provides the income needed. Oh, but often we just look at the balance. My balance is getting pretty low, so I can't give. But do we sometimes give when the balance is low and trust God to provide for that balance, that it will be sufficient and adequate? Maybe we should try it sometime. And we may be amazed at how God will, in fact, bless us. When my wife and I were in Saskatchewan in 1968, our first pastorate, the church paid us $120 a month. And we had to pay up $97 for rent. And we had a 2-month-old baby, our oldest. So what would we do? There wasn't a lot of money left over for milk and pablum and diapers and whatever else was needed for that little child, plus ourselves. We gave our tithe, and God always took care of us. Sometimes there was a box at the door, the doorbell would ring, and we'd run to the door. Nobody was there, but there was a box of groceries. Next time there was a check in the mail, maybe from a friend or from a family member. I found a part-time job. God provided. He did. He honored that. And on top of that, we were driving an old car. It was a very nice car. It was a Chrysler 1965 model, 2-door hardtop. Sat like this. I liked it. But it was getting old. It had 200,000 miles or plus. And it didn't give any trouble. And I always said it's because we gave to the Lord. He honored us. Or blessed us by having a car that didn't give us trouble. Well, time is going by and I need to just fly through the rest of this year now. A guideline for Christians who begin to tithe. They will be blessed with 6 surprises. Here they are. At the amount of money he has for the Lord's work, at the deepening of his spiritual life in paying the tithe, at the ease of meeting his own obligations with the 9/10 left, at the ease of going from 1/10 to a larger gift, at the prudent disposal afforded to a faithful and wise steward over the 9/10 that remain. And he'll be surprised at himself for not adopting the plan sooner. How real do we make God's promises such as, "My God will supply all your needs according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus"? Paul and Jesus seem to take a higher road on the subject of the tithe. The tithe was an Old Testament principle. Not a bad one in itself. But the New Testament principle was to fulfill the law of the Old Testament. That is, go beyond the Old Testament principle of the law. The New Testament seems to be filled with the love principle. Give from the heart of love, generously and sacrificially. Give as Jesus gave. It says, "I am the example." How did he give? Ultimately, he gave his life. He gave his life for our redemption. Let's look at Paul's instruction to the Corinthian church. Corinthians 8. "And now, brothers and sisters, we want you to know about the grace that God has given the Macedonian church." Talking about another church, the Macedonian church. "In the midst of a very severe trial, their overflowing joy and their extreme poverty welled up in rich generosity. For I testify that they gave as much as they were able, and even beyond their ability, entirely on their own." In other words, they weren't coerced or they weren't put pressure on. It was on their own. "They urgently pleaded with us for the privilege of sharing in this service to the Lord's people. And they exceeded our expectations. They gave themselves first of all to the Lord, and then by the will of God also to us." What are the lessons from the Macedonian church? Very quickly. Their giving was in time of severe trial and poverty. Their giving was with great joy. Their giving went beyond their means. Their giving was voluntary. Their giving was a privilege for which they begged Paul. Their giving included placing themselves at the disposal of Paul, and they gave themselves first to the Lord and then to Paul and the church. We have to understand that the 10% rule is maybe not really a fair rule at all. If Bill and Melinda Gates, the wealthiest couple probably on earth, worth somewhere around $10 billion, and I think it's probably higher than that today, if they were to give 10%, they'd still live in huge wealth that you and I couldn't even imagine. But if a couple married with 4 children was living on minimum wage, they were to give 10% of their income, it might put their livelihood under stress. Where is the balance? Paul says, "For if the willingness is there, the gift is acceptable according to what one has, not according to what one does not have." Finally, the most important question is, what am I doing with my life? There we go. What am I doing with my life? That is, with my total being, lifestyle, vocation, service, ministry, and etc. Is my life such that God is honored and glorified? Is my life such that those who observe me will be drawn to glorify God? The rich farmer that Jesus talked about obviously didn't have a relationship with God. At least it doesn't appear that way from what he did. He died. You and I will all die. That's a plain truth. They're talking of the coronavirus, and such a percentage of people will die. It's a very low, like 2% or what, even less than that, the ones who get the disease. And I would tell them, everybody's going to die. We're all dying at some point in time. And then, What about our stewardship? Then our stewardship will be put to the test. What have we done? What have we done? How do I conclude the series on stewardship? I could go on and on and on. I'm just touched the basics. A few important questions. Is my life such that God is honored? Nope, that I already had. For what reason can we say giving can only be seen as a pure, true act of worship? Beginning with the right attitude. If we seek to honor God through the week, you know something? We will be pleased to come to church on Sunday morning and say, hey, today I'm going to give. I'm going to enjoy giving. That $25 or that $50 or that $100, I will never miss it because I gave it to God. I will enjoy it. Our relationship to Jesus Christ will reflect what we do with our time, with our money, with our total life. Well, my time is up, and I have much more to say. But let me close with a quote from Michael O'Hurley Pitts when he says in his book, The Faithful Servant. As Christians, we are used to making proclamations about the nature and content of our vocation. Being a Christian, we say, calls us to struggle for justice. It calls us to forgive others. It calls us, as part of our very vocation, to be passionate stewards. Stewardship, however, is not a vocation that stands independently, but rather as part of our greater vocation as Christians. Stewardship cannot, therefore, be achieved in singular acts of giving. Stewardship cannot, therefore, be achieved in singular acts of giving, but instead through the total conduct of our lives as followers of Christ. Like Christian life itself, stewardship is a journey. It takes time. We stumble, we fall, we rise again to pursue our Christian journey. May God bless you, the congregation, and as individuals in your stewardship journey. And I would say, Pastor, preach it. Many times in the year. Stewardship is such an important topic. There's over 1,500 passages in the New Testament, in the Bible, that speak about stewardship, about money. Stewardship. Preach it. Not when you're low on money here, even when you have lots. Preach it and teach it on a regular basis. Let's pray. Dear God, we do thank you for these Sundays that we can focus on stewardship, and we have only touched the surface. Yet, there's much more. And yet we want to recognize what we have learned, we need to apply. Give us grace for it, to walk forward from here on this journey of being faithful stewards of that which you give to us in such great abundance. We live with such great opportunities to give and to give again. To give as you gave, sacrificially. Bless this congregation in their onward journey. And may they journey faithfully, serving you, trusting you, believing in you, giving and giving again. May your grace and love go with this congregation in Jesus' name. Amen.